All right. Well, that's not supposed to play again, though. Hey, we got something to work. Unbelievable. Shiloh had been working on that for weeks, and
Yeah,
we were gonna get that thing up. It had to come. It had to work.
it
So,
did.
oh my gosh, after delay after delay, um, we're gonna talk about one of my favorite topics. And Shiloh, I think it's you've been kind of bugging me for the last few weeks. You wanted to get this going,
Yeah.
so What are we gonna talk about, Shiloh?
Well, we're going to talk about the movie Assault on a Queen, and we're going to be talking about the background of the film, the creation, the filming of it, and also the set that they used, or multiple sets of the ship, and we're going to be comparing them with the real ship.
All right. Now, um, I am gonna have to do some makeshift throwing in on some pictures because the slideshow that I had got completely, once again, messed up. So we're going to have to go on the fly on some of them. Most of them are there. We should be good, but we should probably start off with at least getting the first one up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see here. So we want to go with. I'm going to go with the man that made it all happen. Uh, Shiloh, tell us about Jack Finney.
So Jack Finney wrote the 1959 novel of Assault on a Queen, and he wrote it in '59. That wasn't the only novel he wrote. He wrote in '46. He wrote Ellery's Queen Mystery Magazine. That was the first time he wrote. And in 1955, he wrote the Body Snatchers, which was also a 1956 film that was called The Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So this wasn't the only film that became from one of his books. So Assault on a Queen was one that the producers in Paramount saw that would be a good film. So they had film crews go out to a 1965 winter cruise that we're going to be talking about soon, and they got some external shots of the Queen Mary. And the Queen Mary in the film only is the real ship in the external shots. In the internal shots, they're all sets, and that's something we're going to be talking about very soon. Um, but the novel was originally just the novel in itself, and then once the film had came out, they had made other variations of the covers or in. I'm not so sure about the story changing because the only version I've read of the story is the 1959 release, 1960 release, which is before the film was even thought of being made of.
Yeah, I actually was surprised that he didn't write a lot of novels, and he actually started out writing short stories, and
Yeah,
but I
magazines.
mean, yeah, magazine stories, and he has what at least 3 or 4 of his novels now that have been adapted for film and have been
Yeah.
made and remade again. Invasion of the Body Snatchers would definitely be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now the film itself was nothing like the book, wouldn't you say?
No. Yeah, that is true. It's the same plot line essentially, except in the same characters, except within the characters, there's different developments. There's the story without spoiling too much, because I'm sure some people will enjoy reading it.
Right,
And I don't
right.
want to give away too much, but essentially the plot line is still the same. The submarine is a different submarine. It's still German. It's still part of the Kriegsmarine. It's still found roughly. Well, in the film, they find it in the what is it? The Bahamas.
Right.
that around that area, Southern Florida-ish. In the film, it's off of Fire Island in New York. But it's the same story. They find the submarine, they restore it, and then once they restore it, they use it to rob the Queen Mary. And in the film, it's also a they rob it during a winter or cruise, just like it is in real life how they filmed it. But in the story, they rob it during a transatlantic crossing, and they catch the ship just before or just after she leaves the harbor of New York.
Now, I was trying to look to see if there was any uh, understanding as to how Jack Finney got the whole idea in the first place, if he had even sailed on the Queen
Mhm.
Mary. Have you seen anything or read anything about that?
No, but he must have known a lot because of the story or the part of the story, the writings, a lot of it is pretty accurate. I mean, there's some things that are, probably added in to make the story a little bit more interesting in terms of visuals for the readers. But I mean, there's some mistakes like when they're standing on sun deck, they said that they looked at a map and they pointed and they said they were on M deck, which is not true. I don't know if that was a typo or I don't know what was going on there, but the rest of the depictions of the ship, all of it was accurate. Everything had accurate information, so he must have known something about the ship.
Yeah. Now, I was showing here as we were discussing this. Um, the once the book came, I mean, once the movie came out, they did a re-release of the novel. They did
Yeah,
another
with
print,
the
and
with the alternative covers and
right, and they had actually added uh, the actor resemblances of the characters from the movie
Mhm, on the
onto
cover.
onto the cover. And I don't think I've added. I don't think I had a book cover. Let's see here. I don't think these are some of the
What
movie posters here, but I
yeah,
had
the movie posters
there's
are
there's a book cover right there, and you can see we have the two main actors, Frank Sinatra and Virna Lisi, are on the front cover of it there.
the, um the movie covers are actually rather interesting because, the posters, because they were released in, many different languages and especially in Europe.
Yeah,
So there was one.
I'm gonna go ahead and shoot back through those here, but yeah, we've got the artwork. Yeah, for all the different countries: Japan, Germany, France. Um, you know,
Spain.
the 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 name of the title of the movie slightly changed for,
Mhm.
uh, I guess, uh, for translation purposes.
Yeah.
And although we don't know if there were any major changes to the actual movie, I don't think there would be. Um,
Yeah, and that's one thing I was wondering myself is that if the films in different languages have alternative takes or
right,
footage, because in the '60s, this is something that Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho suffered, was that there were some scenes that were not included in the
right,
American version because of censorship.
yeah.
So that's why I was wondering, was the original film not seen in the American release? Was
And
it in a
that is always possible, but I think the thing
Mhm.
that gets me is the artwork. Like
Yeah.
the poster that we have on here right now. Um, this is the only poster that I know of that has this particular artwork of the Queen Mary and the submarine at the top.
And the quote that's never in the movie,
Yeah, and yeah, a quote of a line that doesn't exist in the movie, as far as we
or
know. In
or the story.
right.
I mean,
Um,
it again, I haven't read the real release, so I can't imagine there's too much any different to it, but I don't remember reading that in the story, so
hmm. You mean in the book?
yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't really sound like something he would say. It
Mm-mm.
sounds a little corny.
Yeah, it does. That's probably why there's not too many of these around, but, I
Right.
do like the artwork.
Oh yeah, it's fascinating.
Mhm.
I mean, I was. Let's see. This is I believe this is French. This would be the French poster here. Les
Um,
hold up du siècle. I can't
I'm
say
pretty
that.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. Moon was asking earlier, why did they not film on board? And that's for a few different reasons, mainly because it would disrupt the the passenger, for the passengers really on the cruise, and furthermore, they would get the most optimal shots if they had built a set,
Oh
because
yeah.
then in that case, they wouldn't have to worry about a deadline if the ship was going to be leaving, or they wouldn't be holding up the Queen Mary from her schedule. So that's another reason. But the main reason is that if they built the sets to how they wanted to film the film, then they could spend as long as they wanted and have optimal camera angles.
Yeah, we'll talk about the whole situation with the Queen Mary and the cruise that she was on, but let's just say that it was pure dumb luck that the production happened to coincide with the fact that the Queen Mary was going to be doing a cruise out of New
Hmm.
York, and which was unheard of because she hadn't been doing cruises out of New York. Her normal cruise base was out of Southampton. She would do uh, Canary Islands cruises and Gibraltar and
Or
staying,
southern France.
yeah, staying the to the eastern side of the
Or
Atlantic, not out of New York. But it just so happened that she not only had one cruise to Nassau out of New York, but she did two. And
mhm.
uh, when they had contacted Cunard, apparently they had a most difficult time getting cooperation. And Cunard basically just said, okay, well we'll be in Nassau. You can do a few things there, just kind of stay out of the way of the passengers. So the only time that they actually came on board was to get some shots for the matte
Yeah,
backgrounds for some of the
yeah.
scenes, which which
That's
which will
that's yeah,
show.
that's one thing. Yeah, that's one thing I was gonna mention too. There's at least one or two shots that are on board,
Right,
but majority of them are every interior shot or angle is, yeah, purely a movie set.
right. Now I believe
And
I believe this is the Spanish one, the U-112 Asalto al Queen Mary.
yeah, I was thinking that as well.
Yeah, which is interesting that the whole name Queen Mary is in the movie title
The
here.
same with the German one.
Yeah, right. The same with the German one.
Did you show the wide German one? I have a delay.
I put most of them in here. This is the Japanese one, which actually has really nice photograph of the Queen Mary at the top.
Mhm. Yeah, and then that Spanish one that you pulled up, they actually added the submarine name, which, isn't the real submarine, number, not in the book either.
Right. Now it had first come out on this movie did well in the box office, but by the time the new media formats for we had VHS, DVD. By the time VHS started to come out and you had movies coming out on videotape, um, the popularity of this movie kind of got was forgotten about. But
Yeah.
it did finally come out on VHS, and so this was the cover, which was to me rather plain. I mean, all of that artwork that they had
Mhm.
from
And
those
they
movie
chose this.
posters, and they chose this. They're ridiculous.
Yeah, I know, and that's one of the things about the original, um, hardcover version of the book is
And
that it's one of the plainest covers I've
yeah,
ever seen, and it's almost identical to this one,
yeah,
apart from it not being black and it yeah. But that's why I like the paperback version
yeah,
because that one has some of the nicest artwork on that, and
right.
also, I'm not sure what year it was released, but the other hardcover actually has the Queen Elizabeth on it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had. I think we had thumbed through that,
Yeah, I
and we
saw that
didn't.
one, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't mention it, but I think we got about 1.5 million things to mention, and we can only do 999,999.
That's right.
um,
Well, one more thing is that,
yeah,
Moons asked if they had destroyed the sets, and yeah, they did
yeah.
eventually.
Typically, production studios they don't keep sets, um, even if there's a lot of money invested in them. They hardly ever
Well,
keep sets.
and if they did keep anything, it would be little things that they might reuse for other films,
Right,
but
right,
nothing yeah, no rooms or big pieces from the set exist
right.
anymore.
Now it took a while for actually for Europe to do the the home theater release, and they didn't even get a PAL version of Assault on the Queen released in in the 90s. They had to actually wait for a later release of DVD to come out. But this is a DVD package, so it is out on. Actually, this is the Blu-ray package, which is out now. Which only a few years ago still wasn't out on Blu-ray. It was only out on DVD.
Yeah, it came out in what, 2012?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And
Um,
I was playing it back the other day, and it has pretty crisp sound and visuals, so that's good.
and this is the Blu-ray version for German.
Yeah, and that one is actually interesting, and I want to get my hands on it, but it's hard to find because it has a second disc for images, and I'm not sure if that's just the standard publicity images that you see in the little booklets, or if they have like actual behind the scenes, um, photos of them making the sets or
Right.
them filming. And so I want to get my hands on that. But there's also a booklet that's written in German about the film with additional information.
Okay, Scott's saying he can barely hear me.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's anything I can do about that, Scott. I have. Well, hold on. Let's try one thing here really quick.
And while you're doing that, I'll answer Moons' question. He said, "What if they had used Queen Elizabeth instead of Queen Mary? What areas of the ship do you think they would have used?" I think they would have used probably the exact same spaces on Queen Mary because, as we'll get into in a little bit, they're trying to rob the ship. So whatever facilities on the ship that have money, which is the bank, perhaps the purser's desk, which is one thing that's in the story that occurred, which I'll also bring up soon. But and the specie room, the gold bullion room.
Oh yes, which we will discuss that.
Mhm.
All right, so I'm gonna try and do this. This didn't work before, and I don't understand why it's giving me problems. But Scott, if you only knew, it's like issue number 3007 out of 3010.
That's right, yep.
Ay, ay, ay. Anyway, I don't know if that's helped. Oh, that actually might help. I see my bar has gone up. Is that any better, Scott? Let me know. Um,
You sound a little louder on my end as well.
good, good. Okay, so we'll go with that. Oh, here's the German version of the. I think this is
Um,
DVD.
Moons, uh, it wouldn't have been Bank of America at the time. Bank of America was only, put onto the ship during the last great cruise, so it has still been Midlands Bank, which is in the film.
Right.
But yes, this is the German cover. And you have that other German one that's like a wide angle?
Nah, this was the only ones I put in here. This was the only ones I put in here. Um, I wanted
Yeah.
to cover the basis of the production, and if you look at the advertising posters for the film, the billing for production is stated as Paramount Pictures in cooperation with seven what is it, seven arts films and Sinatra Enterprises.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's one thing that's interesting is that Sinatra had funded this film.
what's that?
I was gonna say that's another interesting thing is that Sinatra had funded this film.
Well, I did a little research on that. Uh, so I'll cover here. We've got the Paramount. This is the 1966 version of the Paramount uh, logo for their intro. Um, uh, Frank Sinatra in 1966. Or actually, it might have been 1965. He and his family decided that they were going to have better control over not only his franchise of music and all that, but protection of his likeness. So anything that he was in, any movie, any television show, Sinatra Enterprises was involved in one way, shape, or form,
Mm-hmm.
and had some control over its distribution, and I guess have usage rights of it, even past his death, because Sinatra Enterprises still
It
is,
still exists.
yeah, they're pretty
Yeah.
they're pretty out there right now on they're selling a lot of uh, uh, DVD Blu-ray discs, of
Hmm.
past shows that he's done and concerts and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
they're right on top of
They're
any
still
money that,
around. Yeah.
yep, still making money way past 100 and he'd be 108 as of a couple of days ago.
Yeah. 12th.
Wow.
Um, Moon's Ass was this movie in theaters. Yes, it was very big in theaters. It was in a lot of theaters,
It came out
and
June 15th, 1966 was when it had
that's right.
its release.
And as we'll pull up shortly, we have a marketing manual which actually tells the theaters on how to decorate the theaters and what to promote and what kind of posters to put up and where for the movie theaters. And one thing I was suspecting myself is that on Queen Mary, um, they had on their theaters, and this was around since 1936, is that they would be able to view films that were released before they were released on land. They were able to watch it, all three classes.
Yeah.
So, especially with the addition of the 1947 theater on replacing the short gallery, I have a suspicion that one of the first showings, if not the first showing, was on the Queen Mary.
And that was very typical, especially if you had anybody sailing on board who might have even had connection with it. Uh,
Yeah,
I don't think Frank Sinatra would have been on board, but
I haven't found any records at all of Sinatra even being
yeah,
on any Cunard liner. So
yeah.
yeah,
So Seven Arts Productions was handling. Uh, if we go back into the history of movie production, the studios were actually kind of in a downgrade to where they were looking at. They wanted their fingers in the pie of a movie, but they didn't necessarily want to spend all the money and effort in the production. So you had independent production companies who would basically produce a film, and then the distribution of the film would go to Paramount. So Paramount would slap their name on it and say, "Okay, it's our film with the cooperation of the production company that made it." So Seven
well,
Arts Productions was the company that did the main production of the film, particularly the on location filming.
that was the Paramount Studios, though. Yeah.
What did I say? Paramount? Yeah, Paramount.
Well,
Paramount was
yeah, yeah.
Paramount did not produce the film. Seven Arts
No, but
Productions.
they used their facilities, the Fox Ranch, and
Well, they did use the studios at Paramount
yeah,
uh, for
that's what I mean.
set. Yeah, but
Yeah.
that
No,
was
but the actual production, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Let's see. And I couldn't find a logo that would have been used back then, uh, but here's a picture of Frank Sinatra with some business associates coming out of his Sinatra Enterprises building. I think this was actually taken in '65.
Ozzy asked if Frank was ever on the SS United States, and I haven't found any information on it either. I think he flew.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think I've seen a photograph of him on any liner at all.
No, yeah, I think he used air travel a lot.
He was a jet setter.
Yeah, and all the photos I've seen him of traveling are with him getting off of in Langley or New York of him being on an airplane. So I don't think he traveled by sea.
Yeah. So speaking of what we were talking about, so this is the Paramount Studios in Hollywood, uh, which is 5555 Melrose Avenue. It is the only uh, uh, movie studio that is still addressed and based in Hollywood. The rest of the companies have moved or no longer exist. But Paramount
Mhm.
is still actually based in what would be the Los Angeles, but Hollywood is part of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So this is an aerial photo of Paramount Studios about the same time as the filming of Assault. Um, and this is the Melrose Gate. This is where the main entrance for Paramount Studios. Oh well, you know what? We should probably take us off for a minute. Let's take us off. Let's see. I think that's. Oh, there we go. Take you off, and we'll take me off. There we go. So here's our cast. Just to kind of refresh you really quick, we have Frank Sinatra. He plays Mark Brattain, kind of an American who's, I don't know, trying to lose himself, living on an island, out in the Caribbean. He's not exactly sober most of the time. Tries to keep his head above water. In many ways, but has a hard time doing so. Rents his boat out. Not really doing very good at that.
Yeah.
And we don't even. Go ahead.
I should mention that in the story that's not the same. Is that we should probably mention Lincoln X.
Okay.
So in the movie, Sinatra had found Lincoln Langley, which was a former radio officer or operator in the Royal Navy, and some point, before the film, he had found him and he had taken him under his wing, and they became partners, and they were running the fishing business together. In the film, that was completely different. Mark Brattain, and also in the film, his in the film his name is Mark. In the story, his name is Hugh. So it's Hugh Brattain. Yeah. In the story, Link Langley is still the same. That's still his name. Rosa's full name is the same. Vic is the same. Tony is the same. Ed, his name is Ed. Yeah, Ed Marino. And then Laufnauer has the same last name, but instead of Eric, it's Frank Laufnauer. So just the little thing is that they changed the names.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, so Brattain and Langley in the story were not related in any way. They didn't have any interactions before the film, or I mean before the event in the story.
Yeah.
So how it happened really in the story was that, without giving too much away, Brattain's boss was leaving to Europe, I believe. Well, yeah, obviously, because we're also the Queen Mary Go. Was leaving to Europe, and Brattain went to go see him off in New York, and so he visited the ship with his little ticket, and after he was done in his boss's cabin saying goodbye, he went up to Sundeck, and that's where he ran into Vic, and Vic had proposed this whole idea of finding the submarine, raising her, and turning her into a pirate vessel, essentially, to rob the Queen Mary. And again, it was Laufnauer's idea.
Wow. I actually like Link's character, but I think in the movie, his character is really kind of forgotten about. Really, he isn't really much in the storyline of the film. But that's
no,
that's
out of all of them, yeah.
I'll try to go through this because we're already getting to 5:15. But I would say Virna Lisi, only because of her she was a very good actress. Definitely her beauty was her main I think would be her main draw to the box office. But
yeah.
But I did like her in the film. I thought she was very good. I see Tony Franciosa in a lot of television shows and programs that from the 70s, and I have a really hard time seeing him because he sounds exactly the same as he does in this movie, and I'm just thinking, oh gosh, he's another jerk.
It's Tony. It's Vic.
It's Vic. You're right, exactly.
Yeah, and it's the same when I saw. Well, Sinatra is different because he's in a lot of other movies, but when I see the other actors, I know it's hard. I have a hard time not associating them with this film.
Ozzy was asking what kind of sub. Well, so it was supposed to be a
Mhm.
German sub, which
German
brings us to
U-boat.
our next character and actor in the film. I can't even begin to pronounce that. Um,
Alf Kjellin. It's I'm pretty sure he's Swedish, I believe.
yeah, I was gonna say not German, but he is playing a German in the film. He's playing Eric Lofnauer, who
Mhm.
happens to be a former uh, uh, U-boat commander, and
Yeah,
which was the reason why this whole thing got started in the first place. Was they had found this abandoned or this scuttled U-boat, and it really piqued his curiosity, and so yeah.
and a difference from the novel is that in the movie he was a commander during World War II.
Mm.
In the story, he was a seaman, I guess, aboard the submarine in World War One.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So the submarine is a First World War German submarine, and its serial number is U-19.
Hmm.
Um, but
One
in the story,
one number short of the
the post.
Lusitania's
Oh,
U-boat.
that's right. Yeah. Huh.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So that was in the story. That's how it went, and also in the film, they just coincidentally find the submarine. They weren't purposely looking for it.
Ah,
Because in the
yeah.
story or in the movie, they were purposely looking for sunken treasure
You're
because
right.
of
That's
Spanish
right.
galleons,
Yeah,
and that is nowhere mentioned in the novel.
that's funny.
So, yeah, it was, Laufnauer who was scuba diving on his own, and
Oh,
he was repeatedly looking for the submarine because he was on board that submarine,
got it.
and he was the last person that closed the hatch before they went to essentially what happened was
All those little
the
differences.
yeah, they went to New York, they tried to pass themselves off as immigrants, and then
Yeah,
they tried to get enough money to go back to Germany.
right.
So he was the last person to close the hatch before the captain, essentially sacrificed himself
Hmm.
and filled the ballast tanks and went
Yeah.
under with the
Wow.
sub. So he knew where it was. So he was repeatedly looking for it, and then when he finally did find it, he figured that the valves held and she's still dry inside.
Yeah.
So that's how we get to the rest of the characters in the book is he hired the crew to man it essentially.
Okay.
And in the film, they just find it by accident.
Right.
And yeah, like I said, it piques his interest.
Right.
And then in that aspect, the stories are very similar.
Hmm. Our last one is Tony Moreno. He played by Richard Conte. Richard Conte. Oh my gosh, he's in about a million different things from the 50s, 60s. Uh, very good actor as well. He plays a rather tough guy, kind of wrong side of the streets, New York guy. Um,
Mhm.
Definitely Italian. Definitely Italian.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Um, it was pointed out. We'll try and point out a few little, you know, issues with the film, and one of the issues with the film was the fact that the batteries in that submarine were completely shot, and so
And that's the same thing with the story as well. That's one of the biggest concerns they had.
so he made
And
he so Tony Moreno makes the suggestion of rigging up a bunch of car batteries all wired, in series together. Um, and so when you see the submarine out, you see this makeshift 2x4 rack of about a dozen car batteries or so all sitting up on the rack, and it was pointed out that they needed 8,000 amp hours of voltage. I don't know what the voltages were for operating
sub like
a
that.
submarine. It's probably in the couple hundred. I'm gonna have to look that up. That's
Hmm.
something to look up. But 8,000 amp hours of yeah, you're not gonna get that from a couple of car batteries.
No. And
Uh,
that was the same thing in the story. They rigged up some crate boxes and threw a bunch of car batteries into them and lined them up in the stern where the battery compartment was.
yeah. Um. Uh. Okay. I didn't realize we were going to that one. So there was another film location, and that was Nassau,
Yeah.
which is the capital of the Bahamas. And here we have a map that basically gives you an idea that it's not very far off the east coast of Florida, which is why it's a pretty popular American destination.
And it was
But
easy for them to go there.
yeah, well, easy. Typically speaking, it would be easy for a ship to go there, and that's why
Well,
ships
I
galore go there.
I meant the film crew. It was easy for them to
Oh,
find the yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. So they were able to to charter a small plane and simply fly over there, and then they rented boats and stuff. Um,
Mhm. Or didn't they use barges?
well, I don't know if they needed really a barge. The They definitely needed a boat
Yeah.
because they were out in the bay where the ship was anchored, and they must have also chartered a plane to do some flying because they caught the
Yeah.
ship out at sea before she even came uh, into port. And
Yeah.
it's
Well,
been it's I can see that although they may not have used the time for filming for the movie, I think they went out there for both her cruises. So she went out. Well, let's show that here in just a minute. Hold on. Um, let's see if I can do that.
well, they also had to stop the ship too.
Well, I don't think they did. I think that they did all of the stationary filming in the bay in Nassau, and they just
Well,
simply
no,
used the.
well, okay, well, that might be because they do show a bow shot and there's no anchor, so they must have been on her port side.
Yeah, that's very very possible. Let's see here really quick. If I can do this. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. That's not working, right? Oh, yeah, that's what I want. Add files. Desktop. Um, Hang tight 1 minute here while I go ahead and get this up. This would be in the no, not there. Author, book author, screenshots. Today. Mm, yeah. Mm, no, that's not it. It figures. Well, I'll pull it up here in a little bit. Never mind. We'll continue on. Let's see here. Come on. Oh, okay. Why are we? Oh, wait. That would be why. Remove. Yes. There we go. So we have an overhead look of Nassau. So that sort of half moon bay that you see over to the left hand side would have been the area where the Queen Mary had anchored when she was in Nassau. Now today, cruise ships can actually dock at a as a they can physically dock. They no longer
Mhm.
have to anchor. A completely different world. The island was then versus now.
Oh yeah, it's changed drastically. Because I've been there before and it looks nothing like it did.
So the other location was the 20th Century Fox Ranch,
Yeah,
which was in Calabasas,
and that's
and
where they filmed the bridge wing shot, the shots of the hull when they came up into the raft and then got out into the lifeboat.
Right.
They the other what was it? Oh yeah, they filmed the
Any and all submarine shots.
yeah. Oh yeah, and they also used the miniature.
Yeah, which we'll also talk about.
Yeah.
So here we see this is what's called this is Sursen Lake, and it was named after. And I just have his name right here, really quick. Of course, I don't have it here right now. Oh, of course. Completely messed up. I'll pull up his first name in a minute. Sursen was 20th Century Fox's like top animated effects, special effects guy.
Yeah.
And so he actually he had a special tank built on the. This is basically like a separate backlot of 20th Century Fox. It wasn't part of the main studio property, like in the LA area. It was actually a little bit further north into the west. If you and it's kind of funny because all of the different studios had their own kind of off location, backlot for all the same things. Paramount had one, Columbia had one. I mean, not Columbia, RKO, and
yeah.
They were all basically in the same area. They would use the countryside, grassy hills and rocky mountainside formations for doing westerns. But in this situation, they had a very large tank built, and they had a very large tank there since, like, I think since the 30s or 40s.
40s, yeah.
And then they tore it out and built a completely new tank in 62. And Sursen had passed away before the new tank had been finished. But many famous movies came out of that tank. The previous tank that had been torn out. One of which was the sinking scene for Titanic in the 1953 version of Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
But here we see, which basically looks like a submarine, but it's actually a waterline model that's built on rollers that is sitting on the bottom of this lagoon.
Yeah. Oh, and one more interesting thing about this set in the submarine is that they used this tank, the very same backdrop and the very same submarine for the Batman television show.
Wow. Boy, you just know how to spoil things, don't you? So this is some photographs that were taken, on set. This is where they had brought the borrowed lifeboat from the Queen Mary back to the submarine. They still had the cash that they had stolen from the Midland Bank that they were going to bring on board the submarine.
In the bags right there, yeah.
You can see that's how deep it was. You can see the men there at the
Waist
bow
level.
of the lifeboat. Yeah, only waist level, so that they could actually the lagoon, the filming tank here was made for miniatures, and so quite often you would have to have people in the tank to position the miniatures for filming. And I suspect that big shed there off in the distance might be the shed that's used for the submarine, coming into.
Yeah, and that would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can even see the bow of the sub behind them right there.
So there you go, Shiloh. This is the 1966 uh, Batman the movie film.
Yeah.
Uh, Same backdrop, same submarine, same filming lake. Uh, yeah, just a little
Yeah,
bit
and
more colorful.
you can even see the clouds. They're exactly the same.
Yeah, yeah, they match.
Hmm.
Let's see here. And if this didn't look familiar already, this is the same lake, the same filming tank that was used for the Poseidon Adventure.
Yep. Mark asked if they were real lifeboats or if they were made. They were made for the film, as far as I know.
Yeah, the one that they used here that you see in this lake, in the
Hmm.
filming lake here, actually looks nothing like the Queen Mary lifeboats.
The
Nothing at
the
all.
only thing the only thing that's similar is that they're white and they have the
That's about
rope
it.
rigging on the sides, and that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it.
The interior and the tiller, they're very different.
Just cover a few other people that were in the production of the film really quick. William H. Daniels, extremely talented cinematographer. He was well known for his black and white uh, work, particularly with Greta Garbo during the 20s and 30s. He had done like 21 films with her. Uh,
Hmm.
and he did Von Ryan's Express with Frank Sinatra just a year or two before uh, Assault on the Queen. And Frank Sinatra basically handpicked him to handle director of cinematography for Assault on the Queen.
Yeah.
William Gates, longtime Hollywood producer, involved with Warner Brothers, involved with let's see, he was with the I think he was the founding of oh good grief here. Yeah, he's one of the founders of 20th Century Pictures in 1933. Later served as vice president of 20th Century Fox until 1942. Gates later became independent film producer, like we see here, being credited for the 1957 film Sayonara, which got him a nomination for an Academy Award. So once again, he was another Frank Sinatra pick for the film.
Hmm.
Jack Donahue was the film's director, and
Hmm.
this is where I think they went wrong, because everything looked really good for the production of the film, and when you look at Jack Donahue's background, his background is, well, first off, he was a dancer. He was in the Ziegfeld Follies in the 20s, and uh, he was involved with MGM for their musical production films in the 40s. So his whole thing, he did start to get into directing, but musical number directing, and then
Yeah.
by the 50s and into the 60s, he was doing television directing, and Frank Sinatra picked him to be the film's director because uh, he was the director for the Frank Sinatra show on television. And
Yeah.
I think this was where I think things went wrong. Not that the film did bad, but it didn't do as good as I think it could have.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. So here's another little thing that kind of bubbed up. So Duke Ellington has the
Mm.
crediting
Yeah.
for doing the score. You want to go ahead and say something about Duke Ellington?
Well, I was just gonna say that from all the CD release of the soundtrack, one interesting thing is, and what we're gonna mention very shortly would make sense of why this is so, but there is no official LP album release of the soundtrack like
Yeah.
many other films at the time had. Because I was looking for one, and the only one you can find is a re-release CD that's remastered, and it's very new. But there's no official album soundtrack. It
Right.
doesn't exist. So, and the reason that's so is we're going to mention in a second, but the only pieces that Ellington wrote that exist in the film are far and few,
Yeah.
and one of them probably being the main title or the closing title.
Right. So I guess part of his problem was he had a really busy touring schedule. And so he brought in these two other composers to finish the composing and arrangements for the film. And some even pieces that Ellington had written for the film score actually didn't even get used. We assume that the main theme for the film is probably Ellington, but
And then in the heist.
yeah, right. Oh yeah, but
Hmm.
but Frank Comstock and Nathan Van Cleve actually probably have credit for most of the music that you hear in the background through most of the
Yeah,
film.
the incidental music,
Yeah, and they both
which
have a long time history, mostly in television, but they also have um, backgrounds working with like I think Frank Comstock was with Les Brown, and
hmm
so
is a ranger. Yeah.
yeah. And then of course Rod Serling uh, wrote the screenplay for the film, uh, basically taking the generic storyline from the book itself, and
Tweaking it a bit.
right. And so Rod Serling was again not a pick from Frank Sinatra, but he kind of won Frank Sinatra's approval, I guess you could say. And I will just read this here really quick. He was interviewed when the film was being released, and Serling had said that arranging the assault on the Queen for the cameras was a major challenge. No one had been able to lick Jack Finney's book, which had been a bestseller a few years prior. It had been tried several ways, but I decided to make it a straight adventure film, and it seems to have worked out pretty well. At least Sinatra tells me he's happy with it. So if you got Frank Sinatra's approval, I guess you were doing pretty good.
You did something right. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Let's see here. Oh, well, yeah, we are on our way. So I want to get into the clips of the film here, and in the film, this is the very first time we actually see or hear anything mentioned Queen Mary.
hmm
Not very much.
But
Uh,
that's the intro. It's the intro for the Queen.
yeah, pretty much. And I believe that's a 19. I think that's a 1930s photo.
The
She's minus radar equipment
monkey bridge.
on her monkey bridge, right? And the first time we actually see her in person is through the periscope viewer from the
Hmm.
submarine. Now that's the one thing I wanted to do here. Let me see if I can pull this up here really quick. Oh, that's where they're at. Pretty sure. Pretty sure. Ah, yes. Um, let's see. Can't I do that? Let's go to properties. No, I don't want that one. I want that one. Oh, no. Okay, it won't let me do that. Add files. See if I can add a file here. La dee dee. You notice every time I get excited, I sing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, good grief. It started all over again? What the heck? No, that's not what I want. Let's see. That's what we want right there. So this is the brochure that advertised for the two Bahamas, the two Nassau cruises for Queen Mary in 1965. She did one on November 17th, and she did one on November 23rd. Commodore, well, he wasn't Commodore yet, but Captain Marr had just been not reassigned. Coming back from a trip ashore, and he rejoined the Queen Mary. The first one being the November 17th cruise, and so his first two voyages on Queen Mary after coming back were these two Nassau cruises, and he does talk about them in his memoirs.
Yeah.
But like we had said before, the pure luck that the production studios had for doing this film. Normally, she would not be going to Nassau, and that was basically because of her lack of air conditioning. The waters in Nassau would tend to be a little warmer than say in the North African coast or near
Mediterranean area.
Near the Mediterranean, right? Exactly. But it just happened to work out well, and so they were able to arrange it. But this is the brochure for that. Now, if I can see if I can get back to... Oh boy, this is going to be interesting. Okay, let's go back to that. And... yeah, now I got to get to... Oh boy. Yeah, this doesn't work out very well, does it? Yeah, I know, right? Aaron, I would be on that right now, on that cruise. You would not need to convince me otherwise. Okay, now I think we can get past... There we go. That's what we want. So, yeah, I would say that out of all the views of the Queen Mary in the film, now, mind you, this is her in Nassau, and I think that she is. You're looking. Let's see. This would be looking. This would be looking to the east. I think she has swung herself out.
Yeah.
The sun is going down, so the sun is reflecting off of the hull. So this is probably about late afternoon or so. But if you notice, the sun is not reflecting off of the submarine.
No, yeah.
But it should be, but it's not. So this is so the submarine is filmed in the filming lake there at the movie ranch, and the Queen Mary is superimposed. Right, exactly. But still makes for a very good shot.
Yeah.
I think that's out of order. This is as she was coming up. So this is where I think that they may have done some extra filming on another visit. I don't think they were able to get all these shots because if you look at let's go back one really quick. So look at that sky. That is not the same sky.
No.
That is there. Not anywhere close. And so I think that it took them multiple days. I think it took them both cruises to go out and get what they call B-roll footage. Just regular shots of the ship for the movie. But what's interesting is that that footage actually went into like
Other
yeah. I mean,
production.
oh my gosh! So you will often find the Queen Mary in these films, in these little short films, in lots of other films, in television shows. I have tried to get the film footage myself, but the only clips I've found have really big watermarks all over them, so they're not worth showing.
But yeah, but they're in a lot of other productions.
Yeah, yeah, Mark, I kind of agree. It does look a little uh, it does look a little bit ominous, those clouds. So this is another shot that would have been filmed with her in Nassau. This is not a set. This is the actual ship, and so we are on the starboard side. So this would be so those doors that that ladder is that the accommodation ladder is coming out from are now the big panes of glass that are in the
On our
hotel lobby, right?
Yeah.
And so they are lowering the accommodation ladder um, to board the officers from the submarine. And so you can see she's a little high out of the water.
Hmm.
I don't think she took on. I think she probably just took on enough fuel to make the trip there and back to New York.
Yeah.
So that would explain a little bit why she's a little high out of the water. You have you are right here near between boiler room 3 and boiler room 2. So you had water from the condensers from the forward turbo generator room. The smaller drips of water that are coming out are probably just scupper drains from the upper decks. Could be sink drains. You never know because it all tied into all these different drains off the side of the ship. And I mean, there were hundreds of them. If you go to the ship today, you can still see all those hundreds and hundreds of holes that are all along where the water line at least was. The white line today bordering the red and black on the hull is
Yeah.
not where it was.
No, it's significantly raised.
Right. Anything you want to say about this?
No, I was just gonna say, if it were mentioned earlier, this is the only one of the few hull shots that are actually the Queen Mary.
Yeah, exactly. So they did have uh, guys in a little yellow raft,
Hmm.
and they are filmed coming up to the ship, and you see
And that's
them
real.
board. You will see them board the ship, and they will go up the accommodation ladder. They are stand-ins. They are doubles for the actors. None of the actors ever came aboard the Queen Mary during the filming there in Nassau
Or after.
or after. Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
But um, this is back at the movie ranch lake.
Well, they are, yeah, and then the Queen Mary
Right.
superimposed on the horizon.
Oh no! Wait for your time to. This is where you're close up to the
Oh,
accommodation ladder. So this accommodation ladder and the hull that you see
the
is
studio.
all a set.
And those are the real actors, they're not the doubles.
Right. So now we go back to another scene. This is the real Queen Mary, and the body doubles are now going up the actual the accommodation ladder.
Yeah.
And again, this is going back to a set. Um, the one thing that makes it pretty obvious is the quality of the painted surface of the hull. I mean, this looks
Yeah.
like it was came right out of the shop. smooth finish.
Yeah.
No chips, no rust
Right.
stains.
Yeah.
That still looks good.
Yeah, it's pretty close. It's not
Yeah.
too.
Well, I mean, look at the rivet detail.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Under normal circumstances, you don't see that kind of detail on a set, but
No.
that's done pretty much exactly how the Queen Mary is riveted.
Yeah. And the plates.
Yeah, and how the hull plates are actually fitted together and designed.
Yeah, and the doors, the hull shell plate doors, they're the same.
Yeah. Okay. So this is one that I had made in the past, but this is how we see them first boarding our deck on the starboard side, and the area that you see on the top part of the screen is they're coming towards the starboard side elevators, which look exactly how they do today, except this is all a set. And boy, is there a way I can? I don't. Yeah, there isn't. There isn't a way I can actually blow that up. But on the bottom left-hand side, you can see there's a little section of deck plan. You can see how the cameraman would be facing on the real ship.
Exactly, yeah. With the bellboys.
And then there's the arrow there with the bellboys. They are standing in front of the same set of elevators that are there on the starboard side, and you can see that belt line and how the wood is laid. The inlay,
And, and that
engineering.
is almost exactly spot on.
Yep.
The same with the one thing, the wood. I mean, yeah, it's crazy that they got the design right, but I mean, it's easier to replicate than it is the handrails. The handrails are literally a spot on.
Right. Now the only thing that I would say would be different is the fact that on the set they're matte. They're a matte look. They have
Yeah,
no shine
no
to them.
shine.
Right. And that's only because you don't want to have anything have a shine.
And that as well, and another factor also is the fact that they probably just used plywood and painted it silver
Yep. Probably so.
or plastic.
Yeah. Could even be that. I was gonna say, I know the only way you could actually see one today would be to look in the third class lift that you can see when you go on, on one of the guided tours.
Yeah.
But there's the third class lift that's there invisible when you go, by the purser's desk, for third class, which isn't really real, but you can
Yeah, yeah.
see the control panel, and the control panel for that elevator is actually from one of the other elevators in first class. And the reason why I know this is because I helped put it there. The one in third class had been missing, and it had been decided we want to try and put a control panel, a lift attendant's control panel back
In
in that elevator, because you can look into it. So we opened. That's how I got to open up all the lift doors to see where the cars were at, and see what was inside the cars. And so we actually robbed the control panel off of the port side aft first class lift. I believe that's where we got it from, and we brought it to the third class lift and put it in. It's not wired up or anything. It's just in there.
sitting there, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that amazes me is that even yeah, sure, they got the rivet pattern, and that could be available through photographs or even the interior of the ship, but the fact they have details such as the lift attendants operators panel, like, that
Yeah,
is
and that's what, and that was where I was going to go with this, was that control panel that you can just kind of see off to the very left at the top there. That's it. That's pretty much about how they look.
And that tells me that they had been on board the ship before to take note of
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to the next one. So, I had some photos and video to show this, but I didn't get to put them into this package. But so this is them actually walking up. They're on sun deck now. They have just left the. You don't see them in the film, but they have gone up to prom deck to the main hall, and have now entered. Actually, you know what? They would have probably just taken the elevator to sun deck.
On deck. No,
Yeah.
well, yeah, and then came down.
Right, and then came down the little set of stairs.
Yeah, because
Right.
I was initially thinking they went up to prom deck, yeah, and
Yeah.
then went to the sun deck stairs and walked out.
Right. So they've come up to sun deck on the elevator.
Yeah.
The little stairway down. They came out to the outside sun deck, and they're walking forward. This is the starboard side of sun deck, and they're going to take this staircase to go up to sports deck and then lead up to the bridge.
Well,
Actually,
I would,
all the way until maybe this year, I was convinced that this was filmed on the Queen Mary, and it is a set. But it's a pretty darn good set. But the one thing that gives it away is the staircase that they are going to go up on.
and the railing is a little different.
Yeah, railing's a little bit different, but the staircase is completely different. There is a staircase there, but it's not designed the way that they're going up.
The staircase itself, the way it looks, is pretty spot on. But yeah, the placement of it and the direction it goes to doesn't make any sense.
Right. And today there is no staircase. They took it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. One thing I was gonna say is that you're right about the sun deck thing, because I just remembered when they get into the elevator, he asked them where they're going, and they say sun deck.
Right.
So yeah,
that's right. That's right. They do.
yeah.
So,
and that's another of the details that they got right too. They didn't, because what I think they did this purposely, because when Moreno's looking through the periscope of the sub, and he sees them on this deck right here, he says they're on the boat deck.
That's right.
But the crew refers to it as the sun deck.
Right.
So I think that's a little bit of nice little detail they added, that yeah.
So in these scenes that you see, you'll often see the background of what is actually the Queen Mary. And so part of the filming crew duties when the ship was in Nassau was to get some footage just simply at the positions of where the characters would be on the real ship, and get the background footage for using for a mat for the backdrop screening.
Yeah, in this case it would be the mast and the rigging.
Exactly.
And a little nice thing too is that when they're standing on the bridge wing, I think even other parts on deck, I have to make sure again, but I know for a fact the scenes on the bridge and the bridge wing, they actually rock the set, so it looks like the ship is rocking.
Oh, the slow roll from side to side?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Oh, golly, I knew it was... Oh, boy. Okay, let's see if I can fix this here really quick. Slideshow. Properties. I was hoping it wasn't going to do this, but... Okay, now... Let's...
Oh, and another thing
yeah.
about just the actors of what we just saw on the bridge, they got everything right in the uniforms as well. They have the one confirmed uniform that I've gotten that's not that's Hollywood is the Master at Arms uniform, but because his cat badge is completely make believe, doesn't exist. But the other uniforms, they even have Cunard buttons on their uniform.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Yeah.
Another detail that you wouldn't think they would have done.
Yeah. The only thing that doesn't make sense though on uniforms is on the main characters' uniforms, how they're wearing tan. They would have worn white, like they are on the bridge.
Okay. I think we can fix this here really quick. Cut. And then we'll do that. Okay, and then we'll go back. And directory. Okay. All right. So we can go back to this. Okay, there we go. So again, there's the situation where you have the real Queen Mary in the background, but they are actually on a soundstage here.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're here on the starboard side bridge wing.
I'm not sure if it's footage or if it's literally just a photograph.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell because I think in some cases I've seen movement, like either birds or
Yeah, yeah.
one of the guys, the guy wires up from the funnel is wiggling. There's something that gives it away that I think it's actually footage and not a still.
And in this shot, as you can see, um, with the rail of the bridge wing that rises up and down in the film too.
So here we have the infamous torpedo,
Yes.
where their submarine has launched a torpedo
Um,
with a dummy warhead at the Queen Mary, threatening that they do have live warhead torpedoes and to comply. However, this is back again at the movie ranch with a set in the tank.
and in comparison to that's another thing I'm about to bring up too, is now that they're on the bridge. But the comparison to the novel is that is exactly the same as well, where they had one dummy torpedo and the rest of the people are on the assumption that there was only one dummy torpedo, and the other ones were also either emptied or converted. In the novel, they were converted supposedly by Moreno, but
Right.
both in the novel and and in the film, um, it's later discovered that in fact all of the the besides this one, all of the other torpedoes have live warheads.
Yeah.
And another thing I was going to bring up with the book is that the crew with Sinatra and well in the story Brittain, Laufnaw, and Rossiter, they go up to the bridge and meet the captain up there. In the story, they go up the same path through the R deck accommodation ladder up to Sundeck as well, but the captain is there on Sundeck is with them,
Mm-hmm.
and the conversation that goes on with the captain and instead of Rossiter being the main guy that speaks, it's actually Laufnauer that is the main guy. And
Got it.
well, it starts off with Brittain, and then once they launch the torpedo, then it's Laufnauer that takes over.
Gotcha.
And the infamous "You're Canadian, aren't you?" is reversed.
Is that in the book?
No, it's reversed.
Oh.
It's he says, "You're American, aren't you?" And he goes, "Yes."
Ah.
And yeah, and another thing I was going to mention is in the radio operator room on the ship and also the submarine. It's the same. The only few little lines that are like literally identical in the book to the film is his whole spiel on the radio to the Queen Mary, where he says urge getting your captain before replying
Yeah.
and radio signs. That's almost exactly the same as it's written in the book.
So this is the smoke cloud that rises from the explosion of the torpedo. And I often wondered, how did they
How they film that?
how did they film that? Did they actually set off some kind of a pyrotechnic charge? And if you look closely, you can see that there are either they're passengers or crew, but probably
Still crew.
crew,
Yeah.
that are on the they're on the well deck there on the starboard side, looking down, appearing as though they might be looking to see what had happened. But when that smoke cloud comes billowing up, you actually notice that their heads disappear. So
And
yeah,
if you notice along the line where the rail is and the M deck rail is,
yeah,
there's a clear line that separates that from the smoke
yeah,
cloud.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can see it ever so slightly, but yeah,
Yeah.
little bit of trick, little bit of tricks there, but yeah, not an actual pyrotechnic effect
And
on the ship.
and with that, I think they probably filmed that in miniature too. That was a little tiny, probably a match going out or something, and they they distorted the color.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, here they are now giving the orders uh, to open the bank vault and
And
uh,
it's the special room.
and to open the bullion room as they call it here. And
Yeah.
I think
And
when I pointed this out, I just wanted to point out that this is all still a set. However,
yes. Yeah.
the way that the doors are handled uh, for the bridge, the the staircase over on the left hand side that leads up to the monkey bridge,
Even the engine telegraph.
the engine telegraph. Uh, well, actually, that'd be. I think that's
Oh, not yeah,
it's a
not engine, but
warping telegraph there. But
but the telegraph all the same.
oh, I mean, spot on, spot on. It is I mean, even those doors are built
Exactly the
they
same.
have the same kind of hardware, the same little hooks, and the same kind
Yeah.
and
Yep.
of
Uh,
hinges.
Moons asked how did they get the telegraph? They made it.
Yep, exactly.
So that's what the special effects department does.
Yeah, I don't think Cunard loaned them one. Yeah, they definitely
No.
made it.
Well, they actually have 2. There's 2 of them on in a different scene, just like it is on the real ship.
Yeah,
But the interesting thing is that in the shots, it's so weird because if you look in the shots that are looking towards the bow in the earlier shots, I think it's either before or a little bit after this,
yeah,
and you can actually see a little bit into the bridge.
yeah,
You can see on the you obviously you can't see the starboard wall, but if you look on the port side bulkhead of the bridge,
yeah.
they actually do have the RPM meters there on the wall.
Yep, yep. Yeah, the rebometers are placed in where they should be. The only thing that I noticed that was not correct was they had not the right binnacle.
Well, that too, and they
But
also had a circular telegraph, like the one on Titanic,
right,
and
that's right, that's right.
yeah. And then in this shot, that where is it in here? Oh yeah, that little rope, the pull rope.
Yep,
That's the backup or auxiliary, pull system for the whistle.
yep. And
A
that little
whistle.
and that pipe that comes up and goes into the bridge there, just forward of that right window there.
Yeah, yep.
That's there.
It is, yeah. And it's just crazy to me that they got this much detail for a, what, 3-minute section of the film?
Now this is where I had a photograph to show, and I don't have the photograph to show because it's in a folder that it won't let me get into. Like about 3 million problems all came up here in the last hour, and so
Well,
I was
you know what's a little interesting is in the last photo, the telegraphs appeared to be seafoam green or deck green.
yeah,
Um, in this photo, they look cream.
yeah, it's kind of
Like,
hard. Yeah. So actually, I want to go back and show your pictures. Let's see if I can get
well,
those in here really quick.
no, well, my pictures are after the robbery and during it.
Oh, well, I do want to show this one picture. Let's see if I can get it in here really quick. Beep 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 beep.
Oh yeah, this is when they're going. This is the A deck lobby.
Right. So they're heading to the Midland Bank. Um, let's see. Is it in here?
And while you're looking for the other photos are. I want to mention here in this photograph that again the wall paneling almost spot on. The only difference to the real ship is that panel just next to the elevator door on the real ship has an additional panel that opens up, and this one does not. So that's really the only difference there. The flooring, from what I can tell, looks pretty original. The elevators, again, because they use either plywood or some other material, they are matte. They're not shiny. And uh, one interesting thing that really caught me off guard that is like almost exactly spot on is a little ledge in the corner for the fire extinguisher, and that's still there today, and they still have a fire extinguisher there to this day. The only thing is that the fire extinguisher that they have there is an old one, but it's not the same one as this. Is the one they have now is a traditional fire extinguisher shape, and the one that they used originally are more of a triangle shape.
Wow, why is this so big?
I see that, yeah.
Let's see. Wait a minute. Holy moly! Let's see if I can reduce this. There we go. That's a little better. That's a little better. So this is taken on the Last Great Cruise. This is the
It's
Midland Bank
oh,
on our deck, on A deck, that was operated by Bank of America for the Last Great Cruise. However, I'm showing this to you because this is exactly how the Midland Bank did appear. It's now well, it's not open currently, but it is it was Portside Necessities, a little store there on the
well,
port side of
this
A deck.
this whole window and gate system doesn't exist anymore. That's this
Yeah,
where we're
that's all
looking
gone.
at right now is the doors to the shop.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, now I can go back to this. Now I gotta go. Okay, now I can bring that up a little bit bigger.
Now that we're on the subject of the heist,
Yeah.
um, so this is the first spot that Brittain and Alfnauer hit is the bank, is when they get into the room and they open up the vault. And by the way, the vault is almost spot on as well.
There it is.
Uh, yeah. So they take the cash from the vault. Meanwhile, Rossiter is going down to the bullion room, or the specie room. In the novel, it's completely different. They go down to A deck, but they don't rob the Midlands Bank. They rob the safety deposit boxes in
That's
the
very
on
interesting.
where the purser's desk is.
Yeah. So in this picture here, uh, the those are actually supposed to be fire doors there on the left,
Yeah,
going up. Today the doors are there, but the doors are propped open, and that would
and they're
lead to the port side corridor, for the hotel going
and they're
down.
different. They're different now. They're updated.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did that for film reasons because obviously they couldn't build a corridor. But
Right.
yeah,
And the concierge desk for the bellboys, if you want to leave something there, that would be immediately off to your right in this
yes,
photograph. Yeah.
well, yeah, which is still there. Yeah.
Right. I thought you had a transition picture of this.
No, I do. The one I have is
Yeah.
when they're in the bank, and then Officer, what was his last name? Potter. Officer Potter leads with the Master at Arms
Yeah.
with Rossiter onto the elevator. So yeah,
So
it
you can
it's
see
this
that
scene
there's a fire extinguisher that's on that little shelf there,
which I mentioned. Yeah,
which that little shelf had been empty for many years because it just they don't put fire extinguishers there anymore. But how the fire extinguisher looks in this the scene for the film, that's how they were. They were
Mhm.
triangular
Triangle
shape like that. Now
cone.
fairly recently they have placed a fire extinguisher that did come off the ship, but it's not triangular like that. But there
No,
is there is a
original.
historically, you know, original fire extinguisher from the ship sitting on that little shelf
And
today.
Another thing that they added in detail in the film is the little ashtray.
Yeah, which I don't think I've ever seen them use metal ones. That's something that wouldn't have been
No,
real. Yeah,
no, but that same ashtray is also seen on Ardek in the film.
yeah,
They would have been wood though. They would have been wood,
right.
and they were geometric, and they had a metal top.
Yeah. So we're going back to the bank here.
Well, you gonna the transition photo because that's where this scene.
Your transition photo.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Um,
Oh, and another thing to mention is the doors that are behind them are almost identical to the real doors as well. Same place, same design, same size, really, too.
well, actually, let's see if I can go ahead and just add the directory. Okay, good. So, oh, oh no, no, that's not no. Poop. I don't think I can.
Hmm.
Let's see here if I can do this.
Moon says that the hotel corridor lights that are there presently look like the ones that are in the film,
They
and
do
that's
absolutely, yeah,
because
totally
they're
do.
original. Yeah.
Um, let's see here. Wait a minute. I can. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, but this is gonna be a pain in the butt. But add files. Let's see. Can I do this? Oh, okay. Let's see. Um,
I think Mark asked previously, um, how are they giving orders? Like, what did you mean by that, Mark?
oh, yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, it's not going to let me. Let's see here. No, it's not wanting to work at all. Well, you know what? What I can do is at the end, I'll try and show you pictures really quick. But let's go back to.
Oh, there's one.
No, but you see, it won't. Yeah, it will only let me do that one. So
Oh, the elevator? Yeah. Well, we'll
yeah,
come back to the other elevator
yeah,
because this is where they robbed the
yeah,
bank.
right, right. All right, so let's go back to that. Go back there. Okay, there we go.
So what we're gonna mention next is the Midland Bank. And when we pull up the picture of the Bank of America photo, same bank, they got the railing. Um, they have the railing almost identical. They have the little twisted metal squares, and I mean everything's almost spot on. Even the letters and the
Yeah.
sign that's on the yeah. Oh, Mark saying, how are they telling the crew what they do if they don't have guns? The crew didn't carry guns apart from the master at arms.
You did have weapons on board, but um,
Yeah,
how are you going to use a sidearm to prevent a torpedo from possibly sinking the ship? And that was
yeah.
the reason why
Well,
they weren't going to attack. They weren't going to do anything to stop them in the first place
well,
because they didn't want to put the passengers at risk.
the officers weren't carrying the guns though. The master at arms and officers like that deal with the firearms.
Yeah.
Well, actually, a gun was used in the movie, so we'll get to that in a bit.
Right. Oh, good grief here.
Well, so the robbers, in
Oh,
before they get on the ship, Rossiter pulls out a Walther P-38, which is like later taken away by Laufnauer. So they didn't need the guns
right,
because
right,
they had the submarine was enough.
right.
Yeah. Them being armed with torpedoes to the Queen Mary crew's assumption were live,
Yeah.
which they were. Um, that would have been enough to scare them into submission.
So so the Queen Mary was not the only ship to make an appearance in here. I
Yes.
just wanted to point out that here uh, we see the Coast Guard cutter Andrew Scoggin. Uh, yeah, WHEC 68. This was an Owasco class cutter built in 1946. Was actually built right in San Pedro. All the Owasco class cutters were built there just after the war. She was originally assigned to Boston and then to New York City. She was actually even laid up for a couple of years in the early 50s. But
Yeah.
but then she was recommissioned again and transferred to Miami, and she spent the entire rest of her life, all the way until 1973 or 74, um, doing her coastal duties out of Miami, with the exception of a short stint of duty in Vietnam. So she did do
Yeah.
that. But uh, so whenever you see in the film here, you'll see shots of this Coast Guard cutter at sea. This is the Androscoggin, filmed also in Nassau. So it came out to make
And
themselves available.
there's a shot of, and there's a real shot too, of after the whole robbery takes place and they get on the submarine and they submerge.
Yes, and
There's a real
we
shot.
will see that.
Yeah,
You'll
there's a
see the
real
Coast
shot.
Guard cutter with the Queen Mary.
Yeah.
Um, there will be another Coast Guard cutter, a sister ship that makes an appearance, but they were used. That was used on
Interior.
board,
Yeah.
and was actually filmed in Long Beach, and that's her sister ship, the Minnetonka. But
Yeah.
the one thing I wanted to point out about this particular cutter is that just a year prior to this filming, the Androscoggin was the first Coast Guard ship to sport the racing stripe design on the hull, and
Mhm.
which became now a standard. It's now a standard for all Coast Guard vessels. But this was actually the first and only ship that had the racing stripe.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a nice little, um, fact and little,
Yeah,
nidbit into the movie, yeah.
right,
Um, and a different again, comparing it with the novel, the ship that comes, because this is the ship that comes and disrupts the heist. This
right.
is what it's
The hero,
the heroes, or heroes, quotation marks, in the story, well, that's what they think they are, but yeah, this is the real hero of the ship. This is what makes them start to panic. This is what makes them, cut the robbery short.
right,
Yeah, and in the movie, it's a Coast Guard cutter.
right.
In the book, it's actually a destroyer.
Wow. And this is a what I the scene I love where the Coast Guard cutter is receiving lamp Morse code from the Queen Mary, from one of the ship's officers on the Queen Mary, and the captain is asking the guy on deck to recite the message, and
Yeah,
he said. They said, "We are being held up by a submarine," and he said, "Ask them to repeat that
with
message."
the message.
And then he got it back, and he said, "We are being held up by a submarine." And so that was when they went to general quarters.
Yeah.
But this is on board the Coast Guard cutter
The sister ship.
Minnetonka. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was filmed in Long Beach.
And also the which is actually another really weird factor about the film, because this was filmed where the Queen Mary would go. It released in '66, so yeah, the next year.
Yeah, it's
This is
funny.
this is where she would permanently be housed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just all these little, you know, well, not facts, but all these little, situations that happened that
Right.
made this movie just crazy.
And I believe the
But
Minnetonka was one of the ships that escorted the Queen Mary in '67.
yeah, which is
All right,
it makes sense.
we're falling way behind, so let's go ahead and see if we can catch up here. Okay, wow, we're here. So, Vic, right?
I'm having a delay, but
Yeah, Tony, Franciosa.
well, I can't see the picture yet. I'm
I
having
know,
a
but
delay.
I'm
Oh
asking.
yes,
He's
right
the one.
here.
He's the one who has requested to be taken down to what
The
they call the
bullion room.
bullion room. Okay, this is going to require me to go and add. So this is the bullion room in the movie.
Yes.
Very strange that there's a no smoking stencil on the door. And this is apparently where they stored the gold in the movie.
Or other precious metals, yeah.
So the question that had been brought up was, well, is that real? Is it real?
And if it does exist, is the no smoking stencil real?
So let me tell you, this is kind of like the cherry on top of this sundae. Let me make sure that I get this right. Oh, I need the actual. Wait a minute. Okay, yeah, let's get out of this. And we'll add it. And we'll go back. We'll add that. Add directory. Yeah, I think we can do that. Let's just do that. All right. All right, so we're gonna go. These are pictures that you probably have never seen before.
I think guaranteed never seen before.
Oh, although they're going to be really, really huge, so I'm going to probably have to really reduce them down here. Hold on. So we're looking at that screen there of. Yeah, why are we? Oh, yeah, because it's in this folder. So this is a capture from the film, and they're at the bullion room. Now, in real life, this was called the Specie room. It's SPECIE room. I believe it's Greek or Latin for precious metal or whatever. I'll have to look that up. And you see, there's another hatch door on the right hand side that also has a no smoking stencil. I'm afraid what's going to show up next. Let's see what's going to show up next. Aha! That, ladies and gentlemen, is the Specie room door on the real Queen Mary. The door is open here, so you are looking now into the gold bullion room or the Specie room. And as you can see that on the right hand side off in the distance is that same hatch that actually leads into the forward cargo hold, the number one cargo hold. It also has the no smoking stencil on.
Yeah, and it has the 3 hinges.
And and the 3 hinges. Yep, exactly. Let's go back. Yeah. So yeah, there's the 3 hinges. There's the no smoking stencil. And then we go back to the real.
Just like in the film and on the real ship, both doors open inwards.
Yes. So the door to the Specie room is open and is swung in. So let's go to the next one here. So now we're looking at a slightly different angle. Still looking forward. So the specie room is in a locked part of the ship, way down on D deck. It is in what's known as forward storage. And in fact, the specie room has now kind of been, and has been for decades, the fan room. And if you can look in there, you will see that there are room fans, stateroom fans.
Hundreds of them.
There are hundreds of them, hundreds of complete fans, hundreds of grills, hundreds of blades, hundreds of the mounting bases,
Or motors.
motors, the control stand. Yeah, all of that. This is where they have come to rest or spend the rest of their life. And yeah.
Oh, we're gonna throw up the comparison photo too.
They should be all in this folder, so we should see it.
Yeah.
So now we're looking at the specie room door, and there you see the no smoking stencil, just like in the movie.
But in the movie, it's painted white, and here it's a silver.
Right. Yeah. In the movie, this area was painted white, and in real life, they actually went silver. I think it was probably painted white at some time.
Maybe.
Yeah, or cream color, but
yeah.
this is
Or
the.
It could have had the same paint scheme with the seafoam green at the bottom.
I think at one time, yes. I think you had You had the seafoam green dado with the cream top bulkheads.
Yeah.
And then they went to silver later.
Yeah, yeah. A difference with this door is that it's a lot thinner than the one is in the film.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually pretty thin. This is actually a like a deadbolt lock that has been purposely decommissioned, so I think it prevented anybody from locking themselves
Inside
accidentally into the specie room. Yeah.
Because it would take a padlock bar.
Yeah. And who would know that you were down there? I mean, if you were like, yeah.
Yeah. Nobody's hearing you down there.
Right. It's like they came in and brazed like the hole shut so you couldn't put a key in it. That's basically what they did.
But yeah, pretty much, yeah.
There's one of the original overhead lamps that would originally light up the area. But you can see that they have had to go in and put the modern day smoke and carbon monoxide detectors in. That's what you see there with the conduit and the white little cone shaped thing at the overhead.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is actually inside the specie room, looking aft and looking out. It's been
You
slightly
have
closed.
you have the screenshot from the film of them inside of it?
No, I don't. I don't think I do.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, it's pretty spot on. I mean, it's a very barren room. It's a room with two pillars in it?
Yeah.
Just very bare, basic metal steel pillars, and it's very almost identical.
Yeah.
And I think it has a raised threshold as well, right?
I believe so. Now, is it gonna let me? Nope, it went back. Now, why did it do that? Why did it do that? Let's see if I can fix this.
Oh yeah, and in the specie room, in the real specie room, the door has a hook lock mechanism.
Okay, let's see. Nope. Okay, let's fix that really quick. Okay, I'll add it back. Add directory.
Oh, and while we have time, because as you're searching for the photo, I want to mention as well as that a difference in the novel is that they don't even mention the specie room or the bullion room. They don't ever go down there. What they do is first they rob the safety deposit boxes in the
Oh
purser's
yeah,
office,
yeah,
and what they do is they specifically rule out taking any jewelry, watches, anything like that. They take only currency. So they take all the currency they can find, and then they head up to the prom deck and instruct the captain. They had their whole speech about what they're planning to do and
yeah,
everything. And what they end up doing is they go into the main lounge, the first class main lounge, and they line up. I believe it's on port side. They line up all the passengers, and then they have the same sacks that they have in the film,
yeah,
um, and they put them on the table. They keep them open with books, and then they systematically file in people
yeah.
and yeah, and ask for their cash. And so they rob the first class passengers.
I don't know what the D3 is. Have no idea what that is. It's a more modern stenciling though. That's not related,
Yeah,
but you can see. I believe the frame number was actually written in there.
and a similar handle in the exact same spot in the film is put on there.
And there's some ventilation ducts going into the specie room.
Yeah,
And this is now looking. You're looking further away from the specie room. Still looking forward into the port side there. Ah, so how come it's only showing? So this is a clip from the movie, but let's see. Will it show the next one? No, that's still. Why is it doing that? It makes no sense to me. Hold on, I'm gonna fix this. Okay, now go back to properties. Okay, I'm gonna go back and directory.
wait, you looking for the comparison photo?
Hold on. Yeah, I'm trying to get there. Okay, there we go. Okay, yeah. Okay, so we should be. Wait a minute. Why are we? Oh, good grief. All right. Anyways, so this is A deck port
No, this
side.
is R.
No, this is A deck.
Oh, I'm looking at the R deck one. I'm delayed.
Yeah. So this is A deck looking at the port side elevators and then the port side gangway leading off to the ship. Today.
Yeah,
Then
this is
there's
the
that.
photo.
There's that little fire extinguisher sitting on that little shelf.
And then yeah, and you can see that what I was talking about earlier is that panel in the back has additional panels that open up,
Yeah.
which they didn't add. And if you also notice from the other photos is that the I guess crown molding you could say is very different.
Okay. Now we're down to R deck. I don't know. These are kind of all messed up, but this is the R deck staircase. But I think we should be no. Oh my gosh! Why is this doing this? This is not supposed to happen. Okay, I know what I'm going to do. I will get rid of it. Oh, wait a minute. I don't want to get rid of that. No. Oh my gosh. Ah, okay. That's much better. It's only going to show 3. So that's another set picture. So this is what's his name getting shot by the master at arms as he was trying to.
And this is relating to what Mark asked earlier. So I
Yeah.
mean, I know that you asked about the robbers, but here you can see the master arms uh, aiming his revolver to Rossiter, because as he was exiting the ship, you noticed a lady with a ring with a fat diamond on her finger. So he tried to pry it off her hand, and in doing so, he caused a ruckus. And then what did he do? He punched the master at arms. So the master at arms got up and shot him.
So I can tell you why. Let's see here. Wait a minute. Very strange. Okay. Nope. So I think the reason why it's not working is because their WebP
Oh,
files
yeah, that could be.
and they were working before. I don't know. They were working. Uh, just another issue with today.
Hmm.
Unbelievable. Yep, yep. It will only let me. It's only letting me show one, only one. Wouldn't you know? Yep. Oh, oh golly, my head hurts. Okay, we'll go back to the directory and we can finish up. We can finish this up here. That's all final. Okay. Wow. Okay. Let's see if I can go backwards on this. I think I can go backwards. So we'll go backwards. We're gonna go to the end and work our way back. Because we were only a few slides away. This is the very 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 end, where you can see the Queen Mary leaving Nassau actually, and
Yeah.
this is their thank you to the Coast Guard and to the Cunard Line for assisting in the filming of using the Queen Mary in the film. One of my favorite shots of her in the movie as well is of her leaving
Yeah.
that night. Beautiful shot of her.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And she's steaming backwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see here. The Coast Guard cutter was out looking for her because I guess I can spoil. I'm sure most of everybody's seen the movie. The Coast Guard cutter had rammed the submarine
Submarine,
to sink it, and so they were looking for survivors in the water.
in which they find an empty yellow raft.
And here we do see
And
the cutter actually makes a very noticeable turn to port, even
oh
though it's
yeah,
supposed to actually be ramming the sub.
she's approaching
All
the
right,
sub. Yeah.
and there was no sub there for her to ram anyway because it was in
No.
Hollywood.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And the shot that you have up or had up, um, as you're looking with a spotlight, that's a great shot as well.
Yeah.
But um, a difference, and again with the film and the book, is that in the film, the only survivors are Link, Rosa, and Mark.
Okay, so the
And
same three.
no, no, I'm saying. Oh, sorry, I meant in the film. In the
Oh, in the
film.
film. Oh, okay.
So
Not in
that
the book.
as yeah, in the book, everybody survives.
Ah. Okay.
And basically, what happens is somehow they evade. They do the same thing where they submerge and they go under the Queen Mary, and then once the Queen departs, then I don't remember how they do it exactly, but they um, somehow they evade the cutter and
Okay.
they make it back to Fire Island, and
Well,
without the cat,
well,
without the cat.
let's talk about these shots really quick because
Yeah.
we're already reaching past the 2 hour point, and I actually need to get going for dinner.
Mhm.
But this is important to point out is that in the film they tried to evade the cutter by bringing their submarine underneath the Queen Mary. So they actually had 1/48 scale models made of the submarine and at least the bottom part of the hull of the Queen Mary. Oops, golly. Oh yeah, with working microphone,
Propellers.
working propellers. Thank you very much. Um, and this is where they actually did a goof, which you
Yes,
can
yes.
see there on the left-hand bottom corner. Uh,
There's a hand.
is a hand that is actually manually twisting and turning the submarine to make it look like it's rocking more.
Yeah.
Um,
And yeah, Mark says this is his favorite part of the movie, and this is an interesting part of the movie for me because it's like it's really the only representation you can see of the Queen Mary's
yeah,
pillars.
yeah.
You know,
Which
even being in
very, very, very accurate.
yeah,
The
the rudder.
the rudder, the way the housing are for the propeller shafts, the propellers themselves, the screws are like miniature castings of the actual screws of the ship.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's really the only, visual representation you have of what the propellers would have looked like,
Yep.
spinning in action.
Beautiful model work.
Yeah.
The modeling for these the modeling work that was done for here, and I have the name of him and I don't know, but he was involved with quite a bit of um, with the 20th Century Fox.
Yeah, and there's only from what I could tell, there was only a few movie mistakes that they did. I mean, little things like where they would put up the handles to the periscope, and then the next shot, the
Yeah,
periscope, the handles out, and they would put
yeah,
them in. But this is like the what are the only major movie mistakes I've seen with the hand.
right. Don't think that this would have been a good idea to do in real life.
Oh, no, definitely not.
So
And
there's the shot of the actual Androscoggin with the Queen Mary there on to the right.
I wonder in those shots of, the sub underneath the ship, if they had a line and they just pulled the sub underneath or if it was remote control.
Yeah, don't know.
Yeah, and then there's that pan shot
Yeah.
of both of the ships together, yeah.
Right. So there's the pan shot of her. Well, yeah, we're in reverse order. So you had the
Yeah,
the full on shot of the Queen Mary, and then it panned to the left, and then you
to
saw
the
the
stern.
Androscoggin. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is where she was actually approaching the bow because they were trying to avoid the sonar pings.
Section, yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's where they crafted the idea of, using the remaining torpedoes to torpedo
Right.
the cutter.
Right.
And it's the same thing in the novel as well, is that was the, um intention by, I think it was Laufnauer's idea again to torpedo the cutter, but somehow, Mark or Hugh in the book convinced them not to.
Hmm. So in the film, you can see they're coming in a white lifeboat here. They had made the request for them to lower one of the ship's boats so that they could use it to escape, and so they actually lowered what would be
A real lifeboat.
lifeboat station one, the accident boat, the little
Mhm.
32-foot boat, which is not. Wait a minute. Yeah, it is there today, right? Isn't one there and then
Yeah.
two? Yeah.
No, it's in lifeboat boat station 2, the one that's still there. The one on port side is the one in 1.
Well, there's only one. There's only
I
one
mean,
accident boat, but
yeah, but on the port side, it's on the very, very forward, davit station, and on the starboard
okay,
side,
it's the
second.
second one. It's the second one. Okay, which would be actually lifeboat three.
Yeah,
Um,
but in this shot, this is a real lifeboat.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so what the boat that you actually see in the water is the Queen Mary's lifeboat number one, the accident boat.
And
That's
if you look on the ship behind the boat is missing from the davit.
oops, we're on the wrong way. Right. Yeah. In fact, so yeah, you can see. So you can see Lifeboat 1 is away from her davits, and that is Lifeboat 1 that they're using here.
Yeah.
Now, that is not Lifeboat 1. That is a movie prop in the lake at the filming ranch.
And you can see, in the the superimposed sky or backdrop.
Oh, not superimposed. That's
No, not
it's
I know, but I mean, it's fake. It's not.
fake set.
You can
Fake
see where the
fake Queen
water.
Mary hull.
Yeah, but you can see with the water when they get out further where it meets the.
It is rather strange going backwards, but here we are with
And the
Vic.
only thing that's accurate with this boat really is the color, and I mean the general overall shape,
Yeah.
and the little rubber bumpers, but that's it.
Yeah. So, okay, so we're here on our deck looking starboard side. Vic has been shot.
Yes,
And
and another fire extinguisher.
yeah, another one of the fire extinguishers. And look at the color. Look at the color of that floor.
Yeah,
Looks like the color of main hull today.
it does. Yeah, it's very similar, just missing its green.
Oh man, this is what I'm because I couldn't access those photographs. I can't show. So this is what blew me away as far as like the copying of the real thing. So he has. Let me see if I can go back. Yeah.
Well,
Okay. So right here. So he is. So Vic is coming through this set of double doors from a staircase that leads up to these double doors, and this is how he's going to leave the ship. Those double doors actually exist today. Those double doors did lead to a staircase that went down to sea deck. The staircase does not exist anymore. It's now like basically an empty closet.
yeah,
But
but
the doors are there.
And if you look just next to those doors, you can see that the dining room or the main restaurant had additional exterior doors.
Right. So those doors are actually the starboard side main doors into the first class dining room.
Yeah.
And in fact, that little dark door there in the far distance on the left
is there too.
Is also still there. Yes, that's still there.
And even the hydraulic door stops are the same.
So this is really on Queen Mary. This is looking from the bridge wing down, and you can see lifeboat number 1 is at the accommodation ladder.
Yeah.
This is where the ship's officer is making the lamp Morse signals.
And in that shot where
that is also filmed on Queen Mary.
On board, yeah. And the shot that has the view from the bridge wing looking down is when they had the stunt doubles come out, and that's a real lifeboat.
Yeah. And this shot can't be duplicated today because this ship's officer is standing on the what was the
lifeboat catwalk.
The catwalk for the lifeboats on the starboard side.
Yeah. And I tried to take a similar photo. Now there's a giant air vent that's sitting right where he is too. So
that whole catwalk had been taken away during the conversion.
Yeah.
Let's see. Now we're back to this is A deck. They are leaving the bank and they're trying to get down to R deck.
Oh, into the elevators?
Yeah. Oh, so here we go. Here we go. This is lifeboat number 1 being lowered down into the water, although it might get a little flooded from the condenser discharge from the generator room. But but that is lifeboat number 1 being lowered down. And you can see there's a great big crowd of people on the well deck. Look at how many people are on the well deck to watch this being done. There's a lot of people up there.
I think other shots as well. You can see people on sun deck.
Yeah. So here's a little further distance away here now. Lifeboat number 1 being lowered, and you can still see there's people up on the forecastle as well. People on the forecastle and on the well deck, but there's nobody on sun deck, which is interesting.
Well, no, there's some that are. There's some shots though, yeah, but a lot of shots don't have it.
Okay, so now we're back to this is getting to the Spessy room, and this is where they're locking it up, and he's gonna go away. So I think we're pretty much we're now back to where we were before, because here's
Originally, yeah.
the Androscoggin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's where we were at. Well, that was an interesting trip. We kind of went forward and then backward, and yeah.
Blowing around and.
I feel so. I just don't understand why I had the worst luck when it comes to. I don't know. I just don't know. But we definitely get to show you everything that I was mainly planning on showing you. Those photographs of the Spessy room. Oh, let's go ahead and let's put it back on. We've been kind of hiding here.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Video capture. There we go. And there we go. Nope, not that one. There we go. Now we're back. That's better. Yeah, I the Spessy room was the highlight. Yeah, because that's an area of the ship that nobody can really see, and
no, and a lot of people don't even know exist.
And a lot of people don't even know it exists. Yeah, and I wanted to show that it not only exists, but I mean, it not only was a real location on the ship, but it still exists on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And
it looks almost identical still to what it did in the film.
Absolutely, completely identical. Yeah. Well, we survived.
Well, I was gonna say that also tells me that they had somebody tour the ship before they made the film.
Oh yeah, yeah. They had to have. They had to have some kind. I mean, even the way that they show in the movie how he goes down some corridors, I know how to get down there. He basically goes the way he needs to go. And if those stairs were actually there today through those double doors to get up to our deck, that's exactly how I would have gone.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, I don't think we really have much time to really take any questions, but we did try to get some questions answered.
Yeah, and I answered a good amount, I think.
Yeah. So I want to thank everybody for being patient and understanding. I hope that everybody did enjoy the presentation as much as it was, with a slight delay. Shilo did make a little ending, so we're going to end with a little video ending. Let me get that set up here really quick. Okay, we should probably close that. Yeah, close that, and then let's see. Any last thoughts, Shilo?
Well, kind of what to reiterate what Mark Cooper said is that it's just incredible how accurate everything was for a film that only included the interiors in there for what, 15 minutes, if that?
Right.
Very briefly. There's no they didn't linger very much in the ship, and the fact that that occurred, and they made the sets just so detailed. Even they didn't have to put that, elevator operators panel in there, but they did. They didn't have to put the, even even the, they didn't have to get the little grill right on the Midland Bank window, but they did.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And, I mean, if anybody, most people don't pay attention to that kind of stuff, so nobody would have noticed even if they didn't.
Right.
And even just smart things too, like, they knew that in the corridor, there were fire doors there, so they said, "Well, instead of making a hallway down, just close the fire doors."
Mm-hmm.
So just things like that, that would like it would make sense if it were actually filmed on the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand. This is not working right either.
Well, thank you, Mark. We appreciate it.
Let's see if I can do this. Let's see, remove. Yes. Um, no, I don't want to do that. Ah, let's do. That's what I did. Let's do. Window display capture. That's what I want to do. That's what. Yeah. Except I didn't want to show that there yet. Okay, we'll go back to. Okay, so we're gonna say goodbye, and we're gonna leave with Shiloh's outro that he had made. But thank you everybody for joining us, and we. Oh god, I can't even apologize enough. It's been driving me so crazy today. Getting everything ready.
A lot of difficulties with the audio, and yeah.
It's almost like the last month has been just. I'm gonna make it up to you, everybody. I will. I hope. I hope 2024 is definitely going to be a much better year on this because it just doesn't seem to be going very well. But Shiloh, thank you for joining me on this. And wow, actually, you and I are going to be on Alex's channel. What is on Saturday, right?
Yeah, we're going to be finishing the Last Great Cruise detailed stream that we cut off halfway through.
Right. All right, everybody. We'll see you later. Here we go.
Thank you, everybody.